I am not saying that the Vice President has already does not anymore deserve to be trusted. But I'm just saying that with the recent developments, it is not going to be good advice or good action on the part of the President to still have her on board. Now, anyway, the President has the absolute power, the power of absolute reorganization, meaning he can choose the people he listens to or he would listen to. So if the National Security Council is supposed to be including members who are trusted by the President, then let it be understood in that light. Wala kaming personalan, but my statement before was the Vice President has ceased to be relevant as far as the responsibilities of that membership in the National Security Council is concerned.
Secretary, how about the question of Attorney Roque that the President is supposedly, whether the President is considering martial law because of these changes in the NSC?
Alam mo kung iniisip mo yan lagi, that's malicious. Ano? Because the Constitution is very clear when may a President declare martial law. I don't think it is in the mind of the President right now. What he has in mind is the economic prosperity of the country, the health and welfare of the people, especially those of the lower classes, and the prioritization of his legacy projects. No? The President accepts that as the number one concern. It's not about martial law. It's not about extending himself in power. No, he has no thinking about that. He does not even think in those terms. Malicious talaga si Mr. Harry Roque.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this press conference. As mentioned earlier by Executive Secretary, we had very fruitful discussions of issues, especially on flagship infrastructure projects of the Department of Transportation. We talked about, I think, around 15 or 16 infrastructure flagship projects, and we discuss issues, concerns, and ways forward on how to proceed so that we can implement all these important projects of the administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Bautista. Secretary Uy.
Well, good morning, everyone. Actually, in our discussion, most of what we've really identified are the priority projects of the President that need to be funded, no? And so we really look into where the funding gaps occurred, especially after the bicameral, and identify the areas where the President vetoed, where we will be able to now generate or access certain funds. There may be some funds that might be available only in the second half of the year because of that situation. And so we need to readjust our programs to address the reality of the availability of the funds for those programs.
Thank you, Secretary Uy. We're now opening the floor for questions. Harley Valbuena, DZME.
Hi, good afternoon. Secretary Bautista, you said earlier that you talked about 15 or 16 infra flagship projects, and you also discussed some issues and concerns. So may we know ano po yung issues and concerns na yan?
As I mentioned earlier, we have many infrastructure flagship projects. The Department of Transportation is handling around 69 infrastructure flagship projects out of 186, which was approved by the NEDA board. And out of this 69, there are major projects that need to be implemented. as soon as possible. No? This includes the North-South Commuter Railway, the Metro Manila Subway Project, MRT-4, MRT-7, LRT Line 1 Extension, no? The new Cebu International Container Port, PNR South Long Haul, Mindanao Railway, Metro Manila, as I mentioned, Metro Manila Subway Project, no? And the new Dumaguete Airport development, no? But the major projects really are the rail projects, no? The North-South Commuter Railway, it's a 147-kilometer railway system that spans from Clark Airport to Calamba, Laguna, no? It started during the previous administration. No? We are now working to complete this so that we can have partial operations by end of 2028. No? So there are many issues, one of which is the acquisition of properties, no right of way. We call it a RAUSA, or right of way acquisition. We have issues on also some funding. No? There are issues about relocation of ISF, relocation of utilities. No? There are issues about registration of properties. No? So these are being discussed, and we have presented to the cabinet our ways forward so that we will be able to implement all these projects before the end of the term of the president.
Sir, follow-up lang po. With some billions of pesos worth of items that the President vetoed in the 2025 budget, along with the upcoming election spending ban, so are we confident that this will not affect the delivery of our projects and we will hit our targets?
Well, as far as the Department of Transportation is concerned, we should be able to continue our projects. No? There were some reductions in our budget, but we should be able to fund this from the loan proceeds. No? We're happy that the government share of most of our infrastructure projects were not reduced. No? So we will continue to implement these programs. No? The ones that were reduced basically are the loan proceeds. But these are foreign assisted projects, but in spite of that not being included in the budget, no, we can still avail of the loans, no, so that we can fund these major projects like the Metro Manila Subway and the North-South Commuter Railway. No.
Jean Mangalus, philstar.com.
Good afternoon, po. Sir, comparing the NEP to the GAA, the DOTR had a near 100 billion budget cut. How can you assure us that all of the projects will proceed on time?
As I mentioned earlier, no, the reduction was from the foreign assisted projects. The loan proceeds were not included in the budget, no, in the approved GAA, part of it. But as I mentioned earlier, we can still draw on the loan. No? We just need support from the Department of Budget and Management. No? And we have also discussed this with our development partners. No? And they will continue to provide the loans to the OTR. No?
So no effect po yung yung decision ng Congress?
Sa amin, it's a very minor effect. No?
Sir, nakita po namin na napunta rin sa unprogrammed funds yung iba sa mga assistance to foreign projects. What conditions need to be met so the DOTR can avail of them?
Well, for unprogrammed appropriation, there should be excess revenue, no, of government. No? And normally we can avail of this in the second quarter of the year. No?
Thank you. Alvin Baltasar, Radyo Pilipinas.
Secretary Bautista, good afternoon po. Secretary, malapit na yung election ban. Ilan yung mga projected projects natin na pwedeng matapos bago yung election ban?
Yung election ban natin is in a few days, no. Most of the projects of the Department of Transportation are to be implemented long term, no. So we will continue to implement the program, no. Siguro hindi naman kami mako-cover ng election ban because we have started all these projects already, no. So we don't think the election ban will affect the implementation of any of our projects in the OTR. No?
Just follow up lang doon sa sa budget. Kasi I believe that one of the agendas dito sa full cabinet meeting ay tungkol doon sa implementation of GAA. Ano ba yung meron bang directive si Presidente tungkol doon sa pagpapatupad ng GAA in particular?
Ang gusto mong malaman kung may directive tungkol sa pagpapatupad sa
GAA natin. Since
well, you remember that the President vetoed some items, made line item vetoes. Ang effect ng line item veto is just to reduce the potential deficit. Okay? We cannot transfer what we vetoed to other items. So, the important thing to remember is the President said maximize on what you can do for those that were approved, the program, and then the unprogrammed, maybe we could give prioritization there when the available funds will come. Does that answer your question? Or?
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Maricel Halili, TV5.
Magandang hapon po. ES clarification lang po dun sa budget. I understand nasa 288 billion po yung insertion ng BICAM po dun sa unprogrammed appropriations, 300% increase compared dun sa NEP. So bakit po nasa 26 bilang yung na-veto ni Presidente? Ano po yung logic nung natira dun sa 288?
As I recall, the President vetoed more than the 26 billion. There were 190 billion that were vetoed. Ang binito lang niya doon sa 26 yata was sa DPWH. Okay. Ang basis for the veto is if this were not part of the NEP, yung original proposal, then they must have been insertions. That is the assumption. So, binito ko yan because they have no supporting documents or they were not part of the plan or the program of government. But there were other areas. Now, you put more emphasis on this. There were a lot of items that came under conditional implementation. Very significant yun. Kasi pag sinabi mong conditional, there is no, at this point, there is no certainty of them being implemented. It's like a veto, but it's not a veto. No? We will just wait for the proper time to consider them again when the funds are become available, and the President, through the recommendation of the Secretary of Budget, will consider that it is already timely to look at these items again. Yun ang condition generally. May guidelines that will be adopted. Like the ACAP, sinubject ni Presidente to the joint, the guidelines to be jointly come up with by the NEDA, the DSW, and DBM. So that is more hindi naman veto. It will be inaccurate to consider that as a veto, but you look for the conditions and you will understand.
And sir, just a clarification, because the group of Shelo Magno is questioning yung under ng education sector budget? Bakit daw nakasama even under dun sa education sector na budget yung PNPA, yung PMA, which is kasama naman siya sa budget before ng PNP, ng AFP. So bakit isinama doon? Kasi pag hindi daw sila kasama, in effect, mas malaki pa rin yung budget ng DPWH compared sa education sector.
Alam nyo, yung language of the Constitution is not that specific, no? Na sinabi, education. You have to look at this with a more, with a broader understanding. If before the treatment was, ang budget ng education was only that allocated to DepEd, that was the wisdom at the time. But then, so many things have happened. Yung education responsibility has been shifted to other sector, to other government agencies. So, is it fair for everyone to claim na hindi mo dapat ibilang yan sa education sector dahil nandun sa PNP or nandun sa AFP? Hindi maganda yun. Okay? Now, this is more a matter of looking at the situation. DepEd is not the only agency in the education sector, but it has the greater portion of the education pie, the budget for the education sector. Of course, you will also consider TESDA. Hindi ba TESDA education yan? Okay? And then you have the SUCs. CHED. CHED, higher education yan. SUCs. Now, if you add up this one, including also PMA, PNPA, and other offices with primary responsibility for education in their particular areas, that could add up to a bigger budget or bigger slice of the budget for the education sector. So, with the veto na ginawa ni Presidente doon sa DPWH, mas malaki ang education. Na-comply yung Constitution doon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ivan Mayrina, GMA 7.
Question for Secretary Uy. Sir, what can you tell us about the news report that the executive branch was allegedly hacked from 2023 up to middle of 2024 and military data was stolen?
Well, actually, we are constantly under attack from different sectors, from hackers, from scammers, whether these are persistent threat actors all over the years. And what we're looking at today is that we have detected a significant increase in many of the probing and attacks, especially as we come closer to the elections this coming May. What's happening is that there are more fake information or disinformation that are being perpetrated on social media. There are attempts at compromising certain infrastructure, like websites that are they're trying to deface some websites or try to introduce malicious software in all of these sites. We are repelling several 100,000 attempts on a daily basis. And this cuts across not just the executive branch, but it includes also, for instance, the legislative branch, no? Sometimes itong mga websites ng mga kandidato na sa Congress or sa Senate, medyo binabanatan din. So this is how we're our department is addressing by making all the different sectors, not just the government sector, but the private sector, be more aware of their cybersecurity preparedness, and at the same time, advising them on how to harden their respective infrastructure or information systems. quite often, we've detected that the vulnerabilities that were exploited were old systems, what we call the legacy systems. So maaring there are some agencies in government that have not updated their respective software. So doon napapasukan at doon na exploit in most occasions. The one, if ever there are any compromises, we've seen that the data are old data. Some of them are being reposted again. So example, na-hack nila nung 2020. So may nakuha silang mga information. Tapos, ipopost nila ulit ngayon at sasabihin, oh, may na-hack kami. But when you look at it, all that data are all, 4 years ago data, nothing of the current data. So we need to be more discriminating in entertaining some of these claims, no? Unless they show it. Marami nagki-claim na, nahack namin itong ahensya ng gobyerno, and then we pose the challenge to them. Okay, nahack nyo at meron kayo nakuha, pakita nyo. So we challenge them, okay, post it. What did you get? And either they do not post anything because they did not get anything. They just claim to have done so. Or if they post, we see that these are dated, old data. So that's how we're helping all the different sectors.
But Sec, I'd like to zero in on this this particular story. Ang title po niya, Chinese hackers target Philippine president and steal military data. Some stolen documents related to dispute over South China Sea. Can you confirm that such an attack happened?
Well, there are always attempts to do so, and in many instances, for attacks like those, we're able to detect them early on, and when we do so, we are able to secure the database, and we're able to secure the system so that it remains just an attempt. And not be able to compromise some of the more sensitive data. In some instances, attacks occur on the public-facing sites. So example, we have help desks that are open to the public so that the public can regularly report let's say their concerns. So those open sites are really designed with minimal security because you want to allow the public to easily communicate with the different government agencies. So in most instances, yun ang unang tina-target ng mga hackers, and we detect it and we respond to it immediately. But as I said, if there are any claims that there were any successful extraction of any data, just show it. Show it. Then we will be able to see whether these claims are actually authentic or not. Other countries also experience the same thing, no? Attacks or claim attacks from different state actors or non-state actors, and claims that there have been breaches on the data. But I'd like to reiterate that so far, what we have seen is that no current information has been compromised. What we've seen so far are old data from many years ago that are being regurgitated or just to recycled, just to make an impression that they were successful in doing so.
Sir, last from my end, how are we doing in this cat and mouse game with hackers and scammers? Kasi yun, napapansin natin for a while na nahimik pero nabuhay na naman ho ulit yung mga tech scam eh.
Yes. Actually, we're going after that. We are acquiring new systems and new equipment to do so because these scammers continually upgrade their game, no? And continually acquire new equipment. So, itong mga scammers dati, they have to depend on the telecoms network. So, they get into the telecoms network in order to do the scams. Now, they've acquired new devices where they do not even have to go into the network. Ang nangyayari niyan, kumbaga parang man in the middle. So when you open your cell phone, akala ng cellphone mo, kumukonect ka sa cell site ng telco. Yung palang kumukonect ka sa cell site ng hacker. Yung hacker may dalang equipment na nagpapanggap na cell site at doon pumapasok yung number mo. So nalalaman ngayon ng hacker, oh, etong number na ito active. All they have to do is just they park their car with those equipment. Marami na kami nahuli nun, no? We call it drive-by hacking. They load those equipment in the vehicles and they drive around. And then when they park it outside the building, they park it outside malls. Lalo na nung Christmas, dahil marami nagsha-shopping, they park it outside these malls na maraming tao. And then they misdirect all the cell phones to think that it is a legitimate telco site. And then they capture all those numbers. Once they capture all those numbers, they now do a text blast to those numbers. And they can put anything on their, they can put a bank's name, a telco's name, a credit card's name on that text, making you believe that you actually are receiving a text from that. Dati kasi, yung mga numbers, yung mga letra na yan, the names, you need to be in the network. And the telcos will have to give you the right to put those names on the network to send those texts blasting. But now these new equipment are very modern and they can do that. So the deception is even more effective because of that. So what we're doing is, again, as you mentioned, it's a cat and mouse thing. When they're going around and we receive those texts, we have to deploy assets to go around also and try to find them where they are located and intercept them or and eventually capture them. Marami na tayong nahuling gano'n, no? Most of these equipment are actually smuggled in. Because they are illegal. They're illegal. But sometimes, kasi, itong mga equipment, ginagamit rin ng mga politicians. Especially during campaign season. Dahil gusto nila mag-text blast ng mga campaign nila. So, those are the same type of equipment that are currently being used by the scammers or the hackers.
Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Balik po kay Secretary Bautista. Sir, could you tell us more about yung ways forward na diniscuss ninyo dun sa cabinet meeting on addressing yung mga delays sa implementation ng mga flagship projects? And may directive din po ba si Pangulo tungkol dito?
Well, as there are so many issues, no, for us to be able to implement this program, no. One, as I mentioned, is resolution of issues relating to right of way, no. So ang instruction ng President is to coordinate with all government agencies, no, so that all the issues are resolved, no. In fact, we have organized an interagency committee, no, among certain departments, no, like the PWH, the OJ, no, OSG, no, the SHUD, no, and other government agencies, no, for us to work together to resolve issues about right of way, no. Kasi ito ang isa sa mga pinakamalaking problem ng infrastructure implementation, no, right of way, no. And sa pamamagitan ng pagtutulungan ng lahat ng mga departments, we should be able to resolve these issues, no? But yung Office ng Solicitor General will really help us, especially in pursuing expropriation cases, no? So that we can take possession of those properties that we need so that we can implement our projects, no?
Sir, could you give us an idea kung gaano kalaki po yung problema natin on the delays? And meron po ba tayong major infrastructure project na in-expect po natin na madedelay because of these problems?
Well, as we have discussed, no, may mga resolution naman, no. So we're expecting that even with all these problems, no, we should be able to implement the projects still on time, no. Yun ang objective talaga namin, no, for us to be able to implement this project on the newly established timetable, no? Kasi karamihan dito started during the previous administration, no? There's even a project that started during the Aquino administration, and there are still issues that we need to resolve, no? But with all those projects and ways forward plans that we will implement, no, we're expecting that we will be able to resolve these problems and implement the projects still on time, no?
Another question po kay Secretary Uy. Sir, some companies have sounded alarm yung sa paggamit po ng mga scammers ng mga text hijacking devices where kahit po yung legitimate number or yung account na pinante-text nila na naha-hijack po ng mga scammers. Are we doing something specifically to address this?
Yes, actually, we've been meeting with the telco providers as well as NTC, no, in order to find a solution on how to identify the specific technique that they're using in hijacking it. This is very new. This is a very new methodology that we're seeing today. And the telcos are still analyzing their systems on to see how the equipment is able to do that. We've confiscated some equipment, and we're currently having our technical people analyze those equipment to see how that equipment is operating in order to be able to hijack. What you're referring to is, you have a series of communications coming from legitimate text, and then suddenly there's a text that comes in that conversation, but actually it's not a legitimate text. It's coming from the hacker or the scammer that's able to infiltrate that conversation, no? That conversation. So bagong-bago yung equipment na yan at medyo pinag-aaralan pa ng mga experts how it's able to penetrate those conversations.
Sir, can we say na yung nangyaring SIM card registration, may epekto pa po ba yun?
Well, malaking epekto yung SIM card registration dahil as you would notice, nung naging effective yung SIM card registration, malaking binaba nung mga scammers, no? Dahil naputulan sila ng one main method of scamming. But then they shifted to other methods. And in these methods that they're using now, they are SIM, they do not need SIM. They operate on what we call over-the-top services like Telegram, Viber, or Messenger, which do not require a SIM card. So some of them are using those methodologies. But really, I think the more effective is really to increase our operatives on the ground in order to be deployed in different areas where we will be able to detect these operations, no? Because we know where they operate. they normally operate in crowded areas where they're able to maximize their fraudulent activity. And we're also addressing, so they've resorted to what we call guerrilla tactics na. Dati kasi, ang nangyayari, they're all located in one big building. They operate from that building. So ngayon, dahil marami tayong na-raid at na dismantle ng mga malalaking operations na ganun, naging guerrilla warfare ngayon. They've reduced them into smaller teams, very mobile, they move around, and so we have to respond accordingly and also change our tactics in going after them. So it's really, as my Tokayo said, a cat and mouse thing with these scammers and hackers. Thank you.
Eden Santos, Net25.
Good morning. Hello. Good morning po, ES. Natalakay din po ba doon sa full cabinet meeting yung about food security? Meron po bang directive si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Since binabanggit po sa mga report na Pbbm government tempers to 2024 inflation, well in fact, yun pong presyo ng kamatis ay napakataas po. Ano po yung direktiba ng ating Pangulo pagdating po sa food security?
Yung tanong tungkol sa food security, kung natalakay, wala kaming oras na tinalakay yung sa Department of Agriculture, pero kagaya nung pinauna namin kanina, si Presidente will makikipag-confer na lang doon sa relevant secretaries later on doon sa kanyang private office. No? But for the full cabinet discussion, yung mga hindi natalakay, ganun ang mangyayari.
Doon po sa inflation, ano po, sinasabi po na pababa yung trend. Pero mukhang hindi naman po nararamdaman sa laylayan dahil po sa matataas pa rin yung presyo ng mga bilihin, gaya nga po ng kamatis at iba pang mga gulay, bukod po dun sa mga talagang nananatiling mataas na mga presyo na bigas, karne, isda.
Huwag kayong mag-alala at ang gobyerno ay tinututukan lahat yan. Parang natural na nangyayari ko minsan per commodity. Yung right now, ang star of the moment is kamatis. No? Napansin namin yan. At other times, mostly bigas. Mula nung umpisa ng paninilbihan ko sa kabinete, nagtataka kami kung paano pa mangyari yan. There is sufficient supply, but the prices don't go down. They go up. So we have been very active in prosecuting yung mga hoarders. But that is only one part of the explanation. Ano? Merong smuggling. Merong ano. But we are looking at all this. Yung kamatis is local production. Bakit mataas? I was watching the broadcast last night and I wondered why this could happen to us, an agricultural country. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala. The NEDA is very confident that the inflation rate will be very, very low. I just don't know how the respective departments who are responsible for their respective areas will address this issue of bringing down the rate of inflation.
Thank you, ES. Ana Badjo, GMA News Online.
Good afternoon po, sir. Question for ES Bersamin. Sir, other matter lang po. How does the palace view the presence of China's monster ship in our exclusive economic zone, sir?
We view it with concern. No, ganito yan. So far, we have been challenging the presence of that monster ship. The Coast Guard, our Coast Guard, has always been very alert in following up yung presence of that monster ship. Pasulpot-sulpot, and it is within our exclusive economic zone. So, china-challenge yan. If you look at the YouTube channel, makikita ninyo where there were many occasions na china-challenge ng ating mga Coast Guard vessels yung kanila. Meron ding counter-challenge yung Coast Guard ng China. But it all works well in the end kasi nothing confrontational happens. So, maaring projection ng issue dito. But I'm not going to say anything more because that's a matter of operation, no? Oo.
Pero sir, nagkaroon na po ba tayo ng high-level mechanism na way para sabihin sa China or i-approach yung China sa presence ng asset nila doon sa area natin?
Okay. To answer that question, dalawang bagay ang sasabihin ko. The first one is we have always been issuing protest, demarching, they call that demarche. And the other one is there is a permanent apparatus for that, the vice ministerial level. Every now and then nag-alternate ang Beijing at saka Philippines, Manila, to host that vice ministerial level conference. So, this is the precise issue that they address, yung peaceful settlement of that dispute in the West Philippine Sea. Yung West Philippine Sea is the one that covers our maritime domain, the EEZ, and our territorial sea. No, beyond that, wala tayong control doon, so we do not deal with that issue. That's international. So every now and then nagmi-meeting yung the undersecretary natin, si Undersecretary Lazaro on our part, and the other side is the Vice Minister for this particular issue that is there in Beijing. So nag-alternate yan.
Sir, sorry, other matter lang din po. May information na po ba yung Palace regarding sa pag-alis daw po ni Hitman Edgar Matobato sa Pilipinas?
Wala kaming masabi dyan dahil we have no connection with Mr. Matobato. No? Whatever is his purpose in going out, we cannot control that. But if he intends to go to testify in another forum, that's also beyond our control. No? Hindi namin siya ina-encourage, hindi rin namin siya dinidiscourage.
Thank you, sir.
Julie Aurelio, Inquirer.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Kay ES Bersamin po, earlier, SSS President Declaro said that they will continue with the contribution hike of the SSS. May I ask if calls for the suspension of the said hike has reached the President and what are his thoughts on it? Thank you.
Actually, tungkol dun sa hike sa SSS, I think the SSS decided that last year pa. Programmed kasi yan eh. They increased yung... what I know is they increased yung monthly minimum na benefit for 4,000 to 5,000. Tapos there were other expansions of benefits. And to address that expansion, dinagdagan nila ng 1% lang naman yung contribution. That was long before this call was made. Okay. Now, if your question is, ano ang reaction ng Malacanang tungkol diyan sa call for suspension of the increase by 1%? You must understand kung kanino galing yung call. Kandidato eh. Si Rolly Makasait, who used to be president of SSS. I don't know if that is part of his way of campaigning. Pero we will consider seriously kung that issue ever is brought to us officially. We can understand where that call is being made.
So, sir, as of now, there are no official efforts or communication as to the...
Wala. Pero ito I want you to understand. Ang mga ganyang increases, they are studied, well studied, based on actuarial considerations. No? Napakahirap na sabihin mo, wag kayong mag-increase. We cannot be that arbitrary. We have to recognize that this SSS has a very respected actuary. Meron silang pag-aaral tungkol dyan. If you always meddle in their management of their affairs where they are very specialized, it will not work. It will not work. It may even be negative ang impact. So pabayaan na natin muna. Palagay ko maaring yung call na yan is maybe good for next year if it ever will be reviewed. But right now, matagal na nila pinag-aralan yan, in-announce nila long before that call was made. And in fact, these benefits are being expanded now. So why don't we just let that process continue and produce results that were predicted by actuarial studies?
Thank you, sir. Another question sana for Secretary Bautista. Sir, you mentioned kanina that you discussed 15 or 16 flagship projects. May we get details as to the status of implementation of those projects and maybe a brief rundown of the specific issues affecting each one, like right of way lang ba, relocation of ISS ba, etc. Kung pwede lang po. Thank you.
It took us more than 1 hour to discuss these problems. No? There are so many issues, as I mentioned earlier. No? But, in summary, no? We were able to, ang position namin din is we have taken proactive measures, no? To address its issue, no? And we are working to keep the project on track. No? Kung pag-uusapan natin yan, baka abutin tayo ng another 1 hour. No? But basically, these are normal issues that we encounter when you implement infrastructure projects. No? Right-of-way, funding, no? Coordination, minsan delay ng mga contractors. No? Sometimes there are technical issues that need to implement redesign, no? Or we need to redesign the project. No? One area that we talked is the realignment of LRT 1 extension to Niog. No? Meron na tayong existing alignment, no? But nagkaroon ng project ang DPWH, nagkaroon sila doon ng isang flyover. No? So, and because of that, I will have to redesign again the project. No? Yan yung mga issues that we need to address. No? But kailangan nga yung coordination with other agencies. No? Also, yung mga funding, we really need that there will be sufficient fund to support the right-of-way acquisition. No? May mga issues din kami pinag-usapan tungkol sa BIR. No? Kasi we have to pay our contractors, or the contractors need to pay mga taxes, VAT, no? And during the time that we buy properties, may mga capital gains tax yan na kailangan bayaran. No? There are some issues that we need to also settle with the BIR. No? There are issues also about registration of titles of lands, no, yung mga binibili namin na properties, no. So we need to coordinate with LRA, for example, yung land registration administration, no. There are issues about some assets that are being questioned by local governments, no. So napakaraming issue, but as I mentioned, we have discussed measures and programs so that we can implement the project on time.
Thank you, sir. Tuesday New, DZBB.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. To Secretary Uy, please. Sir, sabi yung kanina ay naging effective naman yung implementation ng SIM Registration Act. Malaking ibinaba doon sa mga tax scams. Pero nabanggit nyo rin, sir, na nag-shift na ng methods ngayon ang scammers. So may initiative po ba or move ang DICT na sa Congress na amyendahan itong batas na ito para makasabay din sa pagkontra dun sa mga scammer?
Ang strategy namin ngayon is to do it on the operational level, no? Dahil matagal ang legislative process. At ang nangyayari kasi is napakabilis ng evolution ng mga methodologies on the scammers. So if we go through that legislation, pagka lumabas na yung batas, bago na naman ang methodology nun. So marami tayong batas na ilalabas na naghahabol kumbaga sa teknolohiya. So what we are actually working on with Congress is to amend the cybercrime law in order to have a more encompassing approach. Like in other countries, what they have legislated is a law on against online harm. So, kung ma-address yung online harm, that covers a wide swath, no? Whether it's cybercrime, it's scamming, it's hacking. So long as you conduct activities that will cause harm to others online, then it's covered by that law. So we're trying to consolidate and come up with a more inclusive approach rather than addressing them on a per methodology basis. Kasi, yun nga, hindi tayo makakahabol niyan. Pagkalabas ng batas, nagbago na naman yung technology at yung technique ng mga criminals na ito.
Thank you, sir.
Last question, Ace Romero, Philippine Star.
Secretary Bersamin, sa ibang paksa naman po, the former allies of the allies of former President Rodrigo Duterte are criticizing the reorganization of the National Security Council. Attorney Panelo claims it smacks of bad politics and it's meant to target the Vice President, while Attorney Roque is questioning whether it is a prelude to martial law. Kasi dinanggal daw yung mga Vice President noong time ng unang Marcos admin. What do you say to those criticisms?
Long bagay, ano. Meron ako nabasa na something that reminded me that Panelo, during his time as presidential advisor, was also advocated the exclusion of then Vice President Leni Robredo. No? So he has no moral authority to question the decision of the president. But the second thing that I would like to emphasize here is this. Look at it this way. The National Security Council is an advisory body. And this is an advisory body in relation to the President as the Commander-in-Chief. So the President has the right as well as the responsibility of seeing to it that whoever advises him is within his fullest trust and confidence. Now, I am not saying that the Vice President has already does not anymore deserve to be trusted. But I'm just saying that with the recent developments, it is not going to be good advice or good action on the part of the President to still have her on board. Now anyway, the President has the absolute power of absolute reorganization, meaning he can choose the people he listens to or he would listen to. So if the National Security Council is supposed to be including members who are trusted by the President, then let it be understood in that light. Wala kaming personalan, but my statement before was the Vice President has ceased to be relevant as far as the responsibilities of that membership in the National Security Council is concerned.
Secretary, how about the question of Attorney Roque that the President is supposedly, whether the President is considering martial law because of these changes in the NSC?
Alam mo kung iniisip mo yan lagi, that's malicious, ano? Because the Constitution is very clear when may a President declare martial law. I don't think it is in the mind of the President right now. What he has in mind is the economic prosperity of the country, the health and welfare of the people, especially those of the lower classes, and the prioritization of his legacy projects. No? The President accepts that as the number one concern. It's not about martial law. It's not about extending himself in power. No, he has no thinking about that. He does not even think in those terms. Malicious talaga si Mr. Harry Roque.